Hey Genderqueer Chat, it's Monday, it's Matt, and this week's topic is a really interesting one. I've just my Kindle switched off, so I always put my questions, the topic list on my Kindle so that I can read them easily as I record off my phone. I don't usually have a computer in front of me or anything, but it's a really interesting topic and probably something that we can all have something to say about, something that we all would have confronted at some point in our exploration of our gender identities. The question for this week is, do you feel pressure to express yourself in a visibly gender non-conforming way? Yeah, so short answer to the question for me would be no, at least not anymore. I don't feel any pressure to present myself. I don't feel any pressure by either society or other genderqueer people or by myself to present in any particular way, let alone a non-gender conforming way, but that hasn't always been the case. Certainly when I first started to learn about my genderqueer identity, being more open about that, come out as genderqueer, I ran into that problem of how do I express that to other people, how do I let other people know how I feel on the inside, how do I let other people see my gender the way I see my gender. And part of that was kind of falling into the trap of thinking along the lines of maybe I need to present or express myself in a certain way so that I am more visibly genderqueer or more visibly non-gender conforming, so that people can see that. Yeah, so it was definitely something that I thought about, and I thought about it quite a bit, and it did cause me quite a bit of anxiety of how I was going to do that. I guess at the end of the day, the way that I was already presenting to me personally, although I didn't think about this critically or in these terms, but I was already presenting in a way that to me was non-gender specific. I've always had a very strong aversion to dressing or presenting or expressing myself in any way that I would deem too stereotypically masculine. At the same time, I make no effort or feel no need to pursue any kind of outward physical expression that would be stereotypically seen as feminine. So the way that I dress and present myself, to me, not that I use this term, not that other people would probably use this term for me, is androgynous. I feel like the clothes that I wear and the kind of image or identity that I've constructed for myself over a long period of time, long before I ever started to even think about gender, is just a way that I feel comfortable, it fits me, it suits the way that I feel, and it in turn presents the image of my gender that I guess was already naturally there. So, but yeah, that didn't stop me from freaking out quite a bit, thinking about how I could present. And I did go through the, maybe I should incorporate more sort of feminine ways of dressing or expressing myself. And of course, when I got onto YouTube as well and started to look at other people and people who were talking about trans identities and genderqueer identities, even though everybody was so visibly different and identified differently and did things in their own way, I guess there was a lot of people who were in the process of transition, socially or physically, and these people were presenting themselves in more in line with what the opposite birth sex would be, because that's what fit them. And then kind of from the more genderqueer camp as well, there was kind of a genderqueer vibe, androgynous kind of feel, like people tended to, in my opinion, look kind of similar, as if there was some sort of genderqueer style, which of course there isn't. We're all different and we all present our genderqueer in different ways, and that's completely valid. But I guess because I was thinking about this, I was looking at it, and I guess if I'm genderqueer, then I must look like these people. And it took me a long time to realise that I'm genderqueer. I look genderqueer because I am genderqueer, and that's what that is, and I don't need to look like anyone else. That's the whole point of it. My outward physical appearance and expression, the way I dress and the way I present myself, is an expression of how I feel inside. So therefore, that in itself is genderqueer. So, but yeah, it wasn't always that cut and dry. I did go through think about it quite a bit of how I was going to do that, but as time's gone on and I felt more comfortable with my identity, that has all gone out the window. Don't really think about that at all anymore, and don't feel any kind of pressure to conform to any expectations or not conform to any expectations of people to be non-gender conforming or otherwise. I still do think about like how do I make my gender identity, the way that I feel about myself, more visible to other people, because I'm aware that most people would look at me and not think that the way that I look, the way that I act, the way that I present myself is anything other than the biological sex that I was born with. And that does cause me a lot of grief. That's not something that I feel comfortable with, and I would like it if there was ways that would make me stand out as more visibly queer, whether that be in a gender way or otherwise. So, but I realise that that's not something I can do by taking on other articles of clothing or appearance or following anyone's image. That's not going to cut it for me. Like, I am who I am, and I present how I present, and I'm comfortable with that, and anything else wouldn't be authentic. But I still definitely do kind of crave or find, wish that I had a way of making the sense of my own identity more visible to others, so that they can understand or not make assumptions or misgender me. So yeah, that's kind of an ongoing challenge. But yeah, really interesting to hear what other people have to say about this, because I know it's something that we all think about and we all express differently, and yeah, it's definitely something that's caused me a lot of thought and a little bit of hardship, but I feel pretty comfortable with where I am at the moment. And yeah, I guess that's the message from that, is just be true to yourself, dress how you want to dress, present how you want to present. There is no one way to be genderqueer, there's no one way to be gender non-conforming, there's no one way to be trans, there's no one way to be male or female. Like, if you just dress and present yourself and act and do the things that make you feel happy and feel right for you, and really those things are probably going to be the easiest things to come to you, because they're the things that are closest to your heart. So if you do that, then that's your genderqueer, and I guess other people will see that, and eventually, if you're consistent with your approach and honest and open about yourself, then people will learn that's what that is, and yeah, that's what I'm going with. Awesome, thanks for watching. I will see you all next week.